Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself here. Do you choose discipline or do you choose comfort when it actually costs something? It's so easy to be disciplined. When the sun is shining, you've got a full night's sleep, and everything is just going your way. But what about when the pressure's really on? What happens when choosing the hard path means a real, tangible sacrifice? Well, that high stakes question sits at the very heart of what we are looking at today. It's definitely not just some philosophical thought experiment. It's literally the core of taking active, conscious control of your mind. So let's dive right into this explainer.
Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something genuinely innovative together. We're looking at the architecture of the Psychotech Self-Mastery Command Center. Now, I want you to think of this not as some passive document you just read, but as an interactive dashboard. It's essentially a digital cockpit for your own mind. It takes these really complex psychological theories and distills them all down into 7 fully interactive modules, all drawn straight from Psychotech Leadership content. The whole point here is structured information that's actually designed for immediate retention and, more importantly, application. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll go inside the command center, then auditing your baseline metrics, followed by rewiring your core identity. After that, we're putting discipline into action, and finally, we'll face the ultimate mastery test. Let's get right into it. Okay, section 1, inside the command center. So this is the setup phase. Picture yourself pulling up a chair and sitting down at a literal control desk for your brain. Because this isn't just about reading self-help. This is about psychotech leadership. It's about having actual instruments, dials, and readouts that give you a live look at your operational capacity. And that setup perfectly captures the core philosophy of this material. Every single module is a genuine catalyst for action, not just reading. We've all been there, right? You read a great book, you feel super inspired for an afternoon, and then bam, you revert right back to your normal habits by Tuesday. Well, the command center is built differently. It's designed to literally force operational execution, bridging that frustrating gap between understanding a concept in theory and actually living it out. The interactive nature of these 7 modules is exactly what transforms passive consumption into hardwired behavioral change.
Moving on to section 2, auditing your baseline metrics.
Before we can start randomly flipping switches and optimizing the system, we have to figure out exactly where your baseline currently sits. So we're going to look at the first 2 tools in this command center that help diagnose your present state. First up is what's called the pulse check. Imagine interacting with a dashboard where you rate yourself live across 6 distinct mastery dimensions. We're talking emotional regulation, focus, habits, purpose, energy, and identity. You aren't just vaguely thinking about them. You're assigning a concrete number to them right now. And what's super interesting is that as you assess yourself, there's a rotating quote system cycling key wisdom every few seconds. So you're grounding your own self-assessment in these high-level philosophical anchors. It basically forces you to look in the mirror and define your exact starting line.
Next, we shift gears to something incredibly tactical, the dopamine dial. This module lets you adjust 5 very specific inputs: social media, deep work, exercise, delay of gratification, and screen time. Think of these like literal mixing dials on a studio soundboard. As you tweak these inputs, the module calculates and shifts your overall discipline score in real time. It visually connects all those micro choices you make, like, say, doom scrolling for an hour versus doing an hour of focused deep work, directly to your overall capacity for self-mastery. The really crucial part here is the immediate feedback the dopamine dial gives you. As you play with those inputs, the system provides a live consequence assessment, and that assessment shifts straight from healthy to warning to danger. If you crank up your screen time and dial down your exercise, you don't just lose a few arbitrary points. No, the command center flashes a warning or even a danger signal. It drags your digital habits right out of the shadows and into the light, completely forcing you to confront the trajectory that your daily dopamine inputs are actually putting you on. All right, section 3, rewiring your core identity. Now we're stepping away from those external habits and screen time metrics, and we are moving deep into the heavy, internal, psychological rewiring of the command center. This is where the really profound, lasting changes happen. Let's look at the identity shift module. This is described as the central rewiring exercise. You're presented with cards, and each one holds a specific limiting belief you might be carrying around. The digital act here is actually pretty profound. You literally click the card to dissolve that limiting belief, and right before your eyes, it's replaced with its empowered counterpart. So you aren't just sitting there thinking positive thoughts. You are actively engaging in the mechanics of identifying a mental barrier and consciously tearing it down to install better software. And that brings us to the secret sauce of the whole process. The psychological depth of the identity shift module relies on one core truth. Behavior truly follows identity once you consciously name the shift. Think about it. If you honestly believe you're a lazy person, your behaviors are naturally going to align to prove that true. But if you consciously dissolve that belief and install the identity of a disciplined operator, your behavior naturally starts falling in line with that new standard. The absolute power here lies in explicitly naming the shift and completely owning it.
What's really fascinating here is how the command center anchors all this modern rewiring in ancient foundations, specifically through the Gita Wisdom module. It takes 5 expandable teachings from the Bhagavad Gita, which the source notes as the oldest science of self-mastery, and maps them directly to modern performance psychology. It takes thousands of years of philosophical depth and makes it operationally relevant to the struggles you face today. You get the incredible weight of ancient wisdom, translated perfectly into a framework that sits right alongside your focus and habit trackers.
Section 4. Putting discipline into action. Okay, so you've audited your baseline. You started rewiring your internal identity and absorbing that ancient wisdom. Now, it's time to take that newly rewired mind and put it to work in the real world. Welcome to the 108-Day Journey module. Now, this isn't just some flimsy calendar. It is a structured tracking tool built for relentless consistency. It's broken down into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is detox, clearing out the noise and the junk habits. Phase 2 is conditioning, building those newly installed routines. And Phase 3 is transformation, where those routines actually solidify into your new baseline. The Command Center gives you clickable daily practices across all 3 phases that you actually have to log in and mark complete. It absolutely demands daily accountability.
Which leads us to the number 10 and perfectly introduces our next action-oriented tool, the 10 Pillars Wheel. Just imagine a massive, interactive radial map on your screen. This map holds all 10 distinct pillars of self-mastery. It beautifully visualizes the entire ecosystem of what it takes to govern yourself effectively, laid out so you can clearly see how interconnected every single pillar truly is.
But hey, remember, this command center is all about operational execution. It doesn't just show you a pretty wheel of 10 pillars and leave you to figure it out on your own. Nope. You click any individual pillar to read and understand its psychological depth, and then you immediately launch a 7-day practice plan right from within it. It translates that high-level psychological theory directly into a tangible, actionable, week-long mission. You learn the concept, and then you immediately go out and live it. Finally, Section 5, the ultimate mastery test. This is where the entire narrative of the Command Center hits its absolute peak. You've done the audits, you've done the identity shifts, you've meticulously tracked your daily habits. Now, you step into the high-stakes evaluation module to see if the training actually stuck. Enter the Warrior Test. This module puts you straight under the microscope. It throws 5 high-pressure scenario challenges at you. And this brings us right back full circle to the question I asked you at the very start of this explainer. Do you choose discipline or comfort when it actually costs something? As you navigate these really tough scenario-based decisions, your score updates in real time. It doesn't let you hide behind good intentions. It forces you to prove, right there, under pressure, whether your self-mastery is the real deal or just a cool concept you like to think about. And that leads us to a stark, incredibly powerful summary of the entire Psychotech Self-Mastery Command Center. Engaging with these modules is literally the difference between just understanding self-mastery and actually beginning to live it. Look, anyone can read a book on psychology. Anyone can memorize an inspiring quote. But actively auditing your dopamine, explicitly tearing down limiting beliefs, grinding through a 108-day operational journey, and testing your resolve under simulated pressure, that is how you actually change your reality. So I'll leave you with one final provocative question. Are you going to close this explainer and go back to passively reading about your potential? Or are you finally ready to sit down at your own command center and flip the switch?